Hi, thanks Sophie. I'm Francis Norton. I'm here like you because I believe in UX. I know how much value it can create when it's done properly in the right context. But we have this problem. How do we communicate this value upwards and outwards so we can get more UX commissioned and acted on? So I did a bit of entirely unscientific research, poll on the social networks, a couple of obvious Google searches, and what I found was that most of the rationales and justifications for UX that I came across fell into one of two main themes. Either how do we reduce the risk of building something that nobody wants, or equally likely, that people do want but they hate using, or secondly, how do we emulate success? And the questions here, lots of comparisons with various eye products coming out of Cupertino. Now I find these pretty persuasive. You know, I've come on from 20 years in software development into interaction design, into service design, because I believe in this, which automatically tells you that I'm not the target audience. So I took my case to an entrepreneur, someone who's founded and grown a small telecoms company, and I started giving him the pitch. And a few minutes in, he started laughing, and he said, "So far, you've appealed to fear and fashion, and on their own, fear and fashion are just bogeymen." He said, "If you want to make these arguments credible, I want some facts." Now that sounds a bit grab-grind, but when you think about it, information gathering is something that's very much in the air. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm an enormous fan of the lean startup movement. I've been along to Lean Camp, which I enjoyed immensely. I've done 2 lean startup machines, which is a exhilarating and exhausting way to spend 48 hours. And what I like about it is that their view of the startup as effectively a learning machine. And there's kind of one quote I came out of my well-thumbed copy of the Lean Startup was, the products a startup builds are really experiments, and the information that they generate is more important than dollars or reviews or ratings, because it's helping you to build the next generation of more valuable products. And I'm quite familiar with this, but it's not just happening at the startup level. Kind of the slightly more stratospheric level of the kind of corporations and business academia, you've got this thing called service dominant logic coming out, and it's kind of almost philosophical discussion of how the value isn't in the product or service, the value is co-created by the producer and the customer and the other network actors. But again, they're saying that people who exercise service dominant logic are companies that do this are going to have an emphasis on financial transactions for information feedback rather than a goal of profit maximization. So how do we get back from here to reality? I think what I'm saying is that if you find yourself with a business that is trying to learn the value of its activities, how can you help them learn the value of user experience? I found myself recently, I was with a small web startup who had a problem on conversions. And they were trying to tackle this problem by A/B testing various improvements on their landing page. So I came in and we were doing a kind of user-centered analysis of what was actually going on using empathy maps and customer journey maps. And I could kind of see there's a certain level of interest going on. And then I said, okay, so now tell me about the ratios. How many people are dropping out at each step of this registration process? And we had a kind of full and frank and quite interesting discussion, and we ended up with a surprisingly low ratio for the overall process. So I found myself saying, okay, if we take this figure and if we can grow it to this figure, which is substantially bigger but still pretty damn conservative, will that justify you prototyping and testing a radically different registration process based around what we think that the user is experiencing? And I kind of looked around the room and I was getting nods and smiles. So I think what I'm saying is that if you're in a situation where you have to establish your credibility, I think it's not just communication. It's not just a matter of finding the right metaphor or using the right rhetoric. You may actually have to change what you do. You have to find out what the business strategy is, engage with the business metrics, and with a bit of luck, if you do this, maybe you'll find that the doors are opening. Thank you.